Good morning. Thank you for being here today and joining us for today's programming. I'm Tracy from the Cayuga County Chamber of Commerce, and today we are bringing you our State of Tourism. As I mentioned in our last State of seminar, we are able to expand the scope of this particular event with it not being an in-person event. So there's a little silver lining for you. So we were able to bring you State of the Schools earlier this week, and today we're going to talk about tourism. And the reason why we decided to do this is really because I was thinking about this series when I ran into Karen in the parking garage. And we started chatting about the impact on sales tax and bed tax that tourism has for our community. And I realized that it really fit nicely into this series, which primarily is looking at taxing jurisdictions and municipalities. So today we're going to hear from Karen Kuhl, who is the director of the Cayuga County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Had to think through that one, it's a long acronym. And Nicole Mahoney, who is from Break the Ice Media. And we're going to start with Andrea Seamans, who is the director of the board for the Cayuga County Convention and Visitors Bureau. So take it away. If anybody has any questions, you can email me. My email address, if you're watching on YouTube, is at the bottom of the screen. And we'll try to get back to that at the end of the presentation. So Andrea, I will hand it over to you.
Good morning. I would like to thank Tracy and the Cayuga County Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event and highlighting tourism as a financial driver for the economy in Cayuga County. The Cayuga County Convention and Visitors Bureau marks its 25th anniversary this year. I was given the opportunity to be on the edge of the initial discussions when the Cayuga County Legislature adopted the concept of a tourism promotion entity for Cayuga County. Much research was done to determine just how this new entity would be funded. It was finally determined that a bed tax would be established. A few legislators were concerned about introducing a new tax. It was finally determined that a bed tax would be established. A few legislators were concerned about introducing a new tax. It was explained that this new tax would be paid by visitors who stayed overnight in our hotels and not by county residents. The tax was adopted by the legislature and has been the catalyst that has promoted county tourism industry, enhancing economic development, improving the quality of life, sustaining recreational and cultural opportunities in the county. It was my privilege to be one of the charter members of the board of directors. Watching this positive entity grow to what it is today has been a pleasure. I am again serving on this progressive board. It has been a difficult few months, to say the least. I would like to commend Karen and the staff in initiating new ideas and concepts that they have brought to the table. It is my pleasure to introduce Karen Kuhl, the Executive Director of the Cayuga County Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Thank you, Andrea. It has indeed been a couple of difficult months in the tourism industry, but every challenge opens waves to hopefully brighter skies. We're still getting to those brighter skies, but we'll get there. So it's been a pleasure being in this position and going through this roller coaster with our partners. Our presentation today, I wanted to kick it off with a technical difficulty. There we go. With the description of what the tourism industry is, because it is a broad concept that is sometimes hard to grasp. So the tourism industry deals with short-term movement of people away of where they usually reside. Short-term because otherwise you become a temporary resident elsewhere. It is an export industry, which means that we're bringing in financial benefits that we normally wouldn't have within our county. And it is also a conglomerate of various other industries. So it is the hospitality, the restaurants, the attractions, the activities, but it does go beyond that into our everyday benefits that we as residents receive, such as, the gas stations, the grocery stores, because while visitors are here, they're also spending and supporting these businesses. So the benefit of tourism is a trickle-down effect, and visitor spending is supplemental income to these businesses that are a character of our community. And without the visitor spending, many of them can't survive. And I do emphasize the character of our community, because when people travel, they're traveling someplace that they want to know more about, they want to be exposed to a new experience, and it is that character of the small businesses that is the major driver for getting people to explore. So what is the tourism impact? We get annual numbers put together by the state, and they're broken down to county to provide the information. The last numbers we have are from 2018. 2019 numbers should be released within the month. And 2020, we know the numbers will be very different and display the impact of the pandemic. In 2018, we had almost $105 million spent by visitors within our county, and that expenditure can be broken up primarily between the lodging and the food and beverage industry. And then we have the recreation, the retail, transportation, and also second homes fits within that category. Now, what does that mean? That means that due to the tourism industry and other people coming in here, we have increased jobs by about 1,500 in 2018 and generated about $12.6 million in state and local taxes that were generated within Cayuga County. To boil down even more, that is a tax relief to every Cayuga County household of about $402. So tourism, even if you're not employed within the industry, does have a direct impact on every single resident. So with every visitor comes expenditures to our region for goods and services that increase the base of our tax burden on the resident. And that's how we end up with the tax relief per household. Our office, one of the things that it does very well is make research-based decisions. So we try to get research done, whether it's minimal or a big impact research, on a regular basis to track our expenditure. It helps us get better return of investment because we target the right message to the right audience. This past year, what we did was what's called a tourism sentiment study. What a tourism sentiment study did, it measures the ability of a destination to create a positive word of mouth. So what are people saying? They go and they visit an attraction and say, wow, I had a great time. All those are tracked in order to generate the impact. And it focuses primarily strictly on online conversations. So we're talking about millions of conversations that are sifted through, identified as tourism-related conversations, and then divided whether they are positive or detractor. So what we learned from this study is they gather the quantity of conversations, so the volume of conversations that are happening on particular categories, and then the sentiment. Is it positive conversation or is it negative conversation? And from that, we have these two big buckets that we use in order to craft our marketing message. The core conversation drivers are the ones that people spoke most about. And that relates to nature photography, the beaches and shoreline, our festivals and events. Nature photography is a very broad concept, but it deals with everything that's Instagrammable. The beautiful scenery, the lake views, the hiking and biking opportunities, all those are categorized under nature photography. And we can't deny it, we have some phenomenal views within our county. The beaches and shoreline, we have so much freshwater frontline that there is a plethora of opportunities. So there's a lot of conversation in these subjects. And then the powerful growth opportunity has to do with subjects that had good quantity of conversation, but beyond that had the highest sentiment. So people really, really liked it, but there wasn't quite as much conversation about it as the potentially is. So these are ones that we focus on as well, because we know that this is already ripe for promotion. We just need to let more people know about it so we get greater engagement and therefore greater economic growth. So these deal with tours, wine and wine tastings, and the fishing industry. We've picked up a little bit more in promoting the fishing industry because one that we hadn't pushed on before and is obviously one that is of interest. This slide I found particularly important to bring up in the state of tourism within the county because it gives you the numbers in two different ways. So when they went through all this online conversation, they separated everything that was tourism related, anything that people would travel to come and see and spend time in, versus the bulk of conversation that was being talked about in the county. So traffic, housing, the real estate market, the job industry, and then they separated all these different kinds of conversations. There was 47% of the total conversation was positive driven for tourism. That 50-some% on there is passive conversation. So it's more informational. So it doesn't really have a strong sentiment one way or another. And 2% is what's called a detractor. So people did not like something. They spoke negative about something. Versus on the other side, that's a place sentiment score, which talks about everything else going on. It received a 30% positive and a 4% negative. And most of that conversation is passive, which makes sense because a lot of informational things about what's going on in the county. So I want to focus on the 47 versus the 30. This gap between these two numbers demonstrates the powerful image that tourism has as a driver to the county, as the positive images, the information that's being talked about. A lot of that is driven by the tourism offers that we have within the county. So it talks about how in order to create a placement brand, which is how you identify the destination as a whole, tourism is a positive driver in those kinds of conversations. So we found this particular slide very powerful in determining the sentiment overall. So before we talk really on the impact that the pandemic has had in our county, I wanted to go in and talk a little bit about the tourism product that we have in general. What makes Cayuga County a great destination? And among this, of course, are unique lodging. We have lakes and water activities all over the place to enjoy. Unique shopping, particularly Mackenzie Childs, which is the big driver and which is a lot of interest to the area. Quaint small town America between Aurora and Fairhaven. There's so much to offer. Award-winning vineyards and breweries, and we keep getting more and more awards in our county for this. The wonderful offers that we have, and they spread the entire county as well. I'm noticing my slides a little faster. And of course, historical attractions. Historical attractions are one of the pivotal things, not only that bring people here, but that differentiate us within the Finger Lakes regions as a brand. It is very powerful product. And the arts and culture. And the arts and culture, of course, between the Rep Theater and the APT and all the festivals and events that happen around the county. And so much of it centered right around Auburn, that there's so much activity. And as the sentiment study also demonstrated, is one of the things that really drives a lot of conversation about our destination. And this is basically most of these products that I showed you center around the product, the thing, the item, the activity that brings people here. But what really stands out about our destination and was so demonstrated during the pandemic is the character of our people, the faces behind the places that make Cayuga County such a wonderful destination. So during the pandemic, we started this campaign called This Is Our Cayuga to highlight those individuals that are the real driving force. And we requested a lot of our partners to do this campaign with us, showing the real character that our destination, Lightning, very participated in. Just got a troubleshooting message on my computer. I hope that doesn't mess up too much our presentation. So during the COVID response, we refocused our mission, as I mentioned, to that one of support to promoting the community for incoming traffic, to one of support of our community, communicating that message to our residents themselves. And a lot of the messaging, just like a lot of our marketing, strategic marketing is based strongly on research. During the pandemic, we needed to understand what the situation is. We needed to understand what's going on, what's the product, what are people talking about, and what are the drivers safely that we can have to bring people to our destination. And this is a list of some of the resources that we always reached out to understand what's going on. We have the plethora of national, regional, and very local-based resources. So this, we start on the actual impact. What's going on? This is our occupancy tax starting in January. Now, January and February are normally low months for us. It's what we call our slow season. And here we have the occupancy rates, which basically talks about how full a hotel is. So an occupancy rate of 50% means that 50% of the beds in the hotel, of the rooms in the hotel, have been booked. I've broken out the data between the US, so national data, the regional, which incorporates most of our regional counties, and then Cayuga County specific. You can see pretty much that the path is similar for everybody. Late February, March, there was a severe drop. In April, everybody dropped again. And then we start picking up a little bit May and June. We don't have the July numbers available yet. But what's interesting, and it got me to dig a little further into the numbers, we are lower. The region and our county is lower than the national numbers. When I look to see what the drivers are in those national numbers, we had heavy occupation in Arizona, Texas, Florida. So this is information that's important to know in taking these numbers into account. Within the region, and we know New York State has been very cautious and very careful about allowing, enforcing, what it's called, hibernation, quarantine, enforcing quarantine to from states that have much higher numbers than ours, and that has driven some of these numbers as well, of course. But within our region, it is nice to see that Cayuga County has rebounded a little better than the rest of the region, and that is the blue and the yellow line. So we're hoping that our partners are faring better than the region, but still below the national numbers. A lot of the research that is out there, it centers around what is driving people to travel and why are they traveling? How are they making the decisions? We know that international travel right now, both incoming and outgoing, is absolutely dead, and people still want to have an opportunity. So it is regional travel where people are moving, which is very good for health reasons to keep everything within our section. We'll have this presentation available through our website at Tour Cayuga, and I'm sure the Chamber can make it available as well, so I don't have to go through each one of these numbers. But looking at the top markers, we're identifying that those destinations are providing a clear message as how they're handling their hygiene plans, their safety plans, are where people feel safe is going. The regular health checks and testings of their staff, strict controls on group sizes. So this messaging and enforcing this is a good thing. The messaging continues. Individuals were asked what would make you feel safe traveling, and how does the influence of face mask requirements impact that? And 35% said, I will only visit destinations that require the use of face masks in public. And another 26%, I am more likely to visit the destinations that require face masks. Not only is that an important thing so people feel safe, but it is an important thing for our residents to feel safe as well. That same messaging continues in other research, increasing the pandemic etiquette, agreement with people that people should wear face masks in public is still a very favorable thing. We know that all of our partners will have some pushback from individuals visiting, both residents and visitors, that don't want to oblige, and that's something that we will continue having to face. But the resounding percentage states, yes, it is an important thing. So this is to help support our partners' decisions and enforcement of these regulations. It works both ways. And people are very happy to know that these things will be enforced. So this is messaging that we will continue to send out there. So all this research focuses on that we need to continue a messaging of strength, safety, and trust. And this is what our office is continuing to do. And these are things that we're continuing to put out there, both within our residents, our regional tourism, and anybody who looks at our site from beyond. We have kept all of our messaging very close-knit to our area and the neighboring counties, because we need to keep supporting our partners to keep increasing visitation, but we also need to keep the message and the movement within a regional area. We've been walking a very tightrope, as all of our partners in the tourism industry have had to. So we have been highlighting drivable destinations, highlighting scenic routes, the hiking, the biking, the fishing trips. These are all the messaging and the imagery that you will see coming out of our office to support the partners and still try to drive some movement in the area. The two campaigns particularly that we are working on is the hashtag TravelConfidently. This is one that was started by the U.S. Travel Association, and it is a national campaign that we are participating in. And the messaging, once again, is to support the health industry, which has to go hand in hand. And then we are starting now a YouTube series called Reimagining Tourism in Cayuga County, and I'll cover that a little bit more in the future slides. So this is some of the imagery that's going out there. Once again, it is heavy on the community. Who are we? Who are the people? Who are the individuals that are here to serve you? And once you get here, that will be handling you directly. A lot of these are at the Equal Rights Heritage Center Saturday Market, and we have 10 barbecue down in Moravia, part of the Sweet Tree Trail, which also coincides with promotion of scenic routes. And the Sweet Tree Trail does circle the entire county with partners throughout. And we've got this Travel Confidently when visiting Cayuga County, demonstrating some of the efforts our partners are doing. So this is a way of demonstrating exactly what's on the ground and the actions that are being taken by the places. So it's demonstrating strength of community, demonstrating strength of action, and supporting these initiatives. This is actual messaging by the U.S. Travel Association, and once again is enforcing all the protocols that all of us have to be enforcing in our regular lives as well as in our businesses. Wearing masks in the summer, packing your mask and packing your sanitation is part of the importance. Health and safety is the #1 priority. And the fact that this is a seamless around every touch point that you will get when you arrive at the destination. I mentioned earlier the tourism industry covers so many different areas. So the messaging goes along with every area that you will be in contact with is enforcing these protocols. And it's also enforcing the fact that it's a two-way street. You're coming to a destination that is acting very proactively to enforcing the health protocols, but we expect and respect our visitors to participate as well. So part of the messaging is we're welcoming you with masks. We expect you to wear your mask when you arrive with us as well. We received this contribution from Gretchen's recently, and it was so on point that I couldn't help myself and include it into the presentation. Wild Bill Christensen and Gunslinger Gretchen are here to protect you from COVID-19 with bleach spray, face masks, social distancing, and heavy sanitizing. We take your health and safety seriously. And showing we're real people, and this is a real destination, and we're doing our best through these difficult times, and we need your support. So this was such a great messaging. I had to throw it in here. And this is something we will be launching soon. So this is our up and coming. Reimagining Tourism in Cayuga County will be a video series where we will be interviewing key tourism individuals around the county, highlighting their safety protocols and how that is going to ensure a fabulous and safe destination. So the two messagings go hand in hand, and we need to ensure that they stay hand in hand both in the promotion and in the execution when visitors arrive. So we'll be going around the county interviewing. We've already done one with Inns of Aurora, the Autumn Public Theater. Later today, I will be with Chris Coloca from Coloca Wine Estate up in Fairhaven, and we'll be reaching out to individuals such as Prison City Brewing, to identify different touch points around the county. And honestly, I think I have about 7 of them on the pipeline so far. And This messaging will continue through probably August and into September, highlighting the actual things that are going on the ground to communicate and support all the hard work that our partners are doing. Now, in order to truly succeed, not only in maintaining safety protocols and bringing in individuals who will enjoy a destination while following the safety protocols, we participate at a more regional level as well. The messaging can't be just Cayuga County. So in this, we have a lot of collaborations and partnerships with region-wide. Regionally, we are part of the Finger Lakes Regional Tourism County, but we're part of the Central New York Economic Development Region. So we collaborate with both of these regions to stay tuned with everything that's going on, and this messaging is important, not only during a pandemic, but in general for tourism messaging, we need to send out a wide information. People don't, as much as we would love them to, come to Cayuga County as their destination. They're more prone to go to the Finger Lakes, to go to Cayuga Lake, to go to a broader region. So these regional participations are very important. And to bring this a little more into focus and explain how important this is, we've invited Break the Ice Media to join us. Break the Ice Media, for those of you who are not aware, is a marketing agency that works solely in the tourism industry. They have been a partner with Cayuga County for many years, so they know our destination and our product very well. So today we have with us Nicole Mahoney, who is the CEO, and she's going to share with us some of the insight of what is happening across the region as far as marketing and recovery for the tourism industry. So welcome, Nicole.
Thank you, Karen, and I appreciate the introduction, and while you get our slides up there, thank you very much. Yes, great job introducing me. The other thing I wanted to just add to that introduction is that I host a podcast called Destination on the Left, and one of the really awesome things about the podcast is I get to talk to tourism professionals from all over the world, and I've been talking to them all throughout this pandemic and learning what other destinations are doing, hearing what questions they have. And so when Karen asked me to speak today, I thought I would start with a little bit of some summary points, some of the research we're following. Much of it Karen's already showed to you, but we just kind of summarized it a little bit. Some of the thinking that we've been doing, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the Finger Lakes Regional Tourism Council, which I have been involved with the Finger Lakes Regional Tourism Council for over 10 years. And Lisa Burns, who is their executive director, actually works very closely with me and my team. So I have an intimate knowledge of what's going on there. So Karen, I'll ask you to advance to slide 1. And I'm going to start with a quote as soon as Karen gets it up, and it's from Thomas Mueller. And I met Thomas, actually. He is from South Africa. Let's see if Karen can get the slide up.
I know, I'm trying. I don't know why it's not working the same way mine did.
Oh, okay. I will keep talking while you work on that. And so Thomas, one thing I loved about Thomas, I met him actually through the podcast and through my network, and here is his quote. And one thing that he's been talking a lot about is how this crisis is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for our industry, which I just think is a great way to think about what's in front of us. And essentially he's saying if all of the tourism ecosystem, the hoteliers, activity providers, in destination tour operators, if they take this current situation as a unique opportunity to come out and restart their business much better off than they entered into the crisis. I actually go into depth talking with Thomas about this on an episode that's coming out soon. But my team has really embraced this thought about what can we do to change and to make really meaningful change as we move through and hopefully come out of this pandemic. So next slide, Karen. Another thing I just find valuable to share is, most people understand when you're in a crisis, it's either fight or flight, but there's also freeze. And so you've got freeze where you're panicked, fear focused, or you have flight where you are future focused, but maybe not as focused. And then you have fight, where you're really strategy focused. And I think what Karen has presented today is really thinking about this in terms of strategy. One thing we've been talking with folks a lot about is how important strategy and research is right now to get us through the pandemic. And also on the other end of the pandemic, how important strategy is going to be. Next slide real quick, Karen. So a couple of the research highlights that I wanted to pull out, and Karen actually pulled some of these out, but I love that Karen's talking about trust. Edelman, which is a very large PR firm located in Chicago, 6,000 employees. They've been doing this Trust Barometer report for over 20 years. Did a special edition report twice now since the pandemic started. And one of the things that they have noticed is that now 70% of consumers say trusting a brand is more important than in the past. And that's across all age groups, gender, and income levels. Trust is really the new competitive advantage. And brand trust specifically is earned, not bought. So the folks that they survey say it's personal experience and earned media are the two primary ways that you gain trust as a brand. And I know that Cayuga County and the Finger Lakes region has very strong earned media program, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then the last two bullets, Karen's already talked a little bit about in terms of the masks, and folks are really looking for destinations that require mask wearing. So you need to be publicizing that, lean into that for sure. And the other thing that we're seeing is that all of these media reports about spikes and changes in states across the country definitely are impacting traveler sentiment. And so I think you're right on the money thinking just, about New York State right now in terms of visitors. So I think that's fantastic. Next slide. And another question on the next slide that we've been getting is who's most likely to travel? And we wanted to kind of dig into that because some folks think, oh, it's just younger folks that are going to travel. Older folks are, they're in the more at-risk group, so they might not be as likely to travel. Well, this is a study that DCI conducted actually about the generational divides. And you can see the colors on the bar chart. They represent the different generations from Generation Z all the way to the Boomer generation. And basically what this is showing is that pretty much they all have the same view. It's very, very close in terms of how much comfort level they have with traveling. So the thing that I would say here is that they're definitely more interested in regional and local travel over national and international travel, and it's across generations. There's not a huge difference between generations in terms of who's willing to get out there. And the next slide, Karen. So what this means for Cayuga County is that Cayuga County and the Finger Lakes are positioned well to come out of this pandemic stronger, as long as we stay focused by choosing the fight response behavior over the freeze or flight, of course. Our recovery plans must be based in strategy and remain fluid and flexible. They're always changing, especially right now as more and more states are not able to travel here to New York. Consumers are looking to support those brands that they trust, that are credible, authentic, and true to themselves. And I just love all the examples that Karen shared with you because Cayuga is just that. And it's also shown through your ties to social justice, to civil rights movement, and all the way through the spirit of entrepreneurship that's throughout your community. The other thing to note is that travelers are still considering leisure trips in 2020. Not just anecdotally, folks that I talk to, we've been quarantined. I think Karen called it hibernation, but we're needing to get out. We're needing to get out and experience things. And I think that as summer goes on, folks are thinking, oh my gosh, I have to put a date on the calendar. And even if it's just the next county over or the next city over, I need to get away. I need a change of scenery. So folks are still planning those trips for 2020. And when it comes to brands, consumers value opinions, their own and the opinions of others. And so that's why earned media and personal experience is so important to building that trust. And the next slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Finger Lakes Regional Tourism Council. As I mentioned, I've been involved with the council for 10 years. It is the official regional tourism promotion agency for the Finger Lakes vacation region. And as Karen mentioned, that's a different region than the Central New York Regional Economic Development Council, although there is a overlap there. There are 14 counties within the Finger Lakes Vacation Region. And as the council, we interface with I Love New York on behalf of the region. We have a board of directors that's made up exclusively of TPA. So Karen serves on the board, and then 13 of her counterparts throughout the region serve on the board. And the organization oversees and administers regional marketing programs. So I thought I'd just share a couple of the programs that we are working on right now and that Cayuga County is part of. And the next slide will tell you about the Get on the Water campaign. So the region, like many TPAs, did put a hold on much of their work in the beginning of the pandemic as they were trying to navigate through the quarantine orders and what was happening. But coming out of it, the region really recognizes that we have this great outdoor experience, and we really want to push that to visitors from across the state. And so the board just approved recently to start this On the Water campaign. And it's actually an extension of the On the Water guide, which you may have seen. There is definitely some distributed through the Cayuga County Office of Tourism. And we're looking at promoting nearby accommodations, restaurants, boat rentals, etc. on the water, and also encouraging on and near water related activities like hiking and biking. It's a fully digital campaign. And you can see more of these details here. I don't need to go through all of it, but it's a fully digital campaign with PR and social and landing pages. And the next slide, Karen. One of the other things that the region has been able to do is to take advantage of some of the New York State Tourism Industry Association programs. In particular, this data dashboard that's been provided through Rove Marketing. And what this is showing is visitation throughout the region. This goes through, I believe it's July 8th. And it just shows you the way they collect the data is through mobile IDs, through mobile phones data. So they can see how many people are in different parts of the region and when. And you can see the trends and how it's going up. You can also see the top cities of origin. Because of the mobile ID data, they know where that phone sleeps at night, so they know essentially what the city of origin is. And you can see the top cities right now are very regional into the region: Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, I believe that says Elmira, and then followed by New York City. So this is another thing that the region can do more region-wide, is to take a look at data and to share that with all of their partners. And the next slide is the PR program. So for 10 years, the region has had an award-winning PR program with QUINN out of New York City. The program was on hold for just a couple of months, but they are getting it started again now with a focus on recovery. And it's focused on the region as an outdoor recreational asset, looking at getting on the water, outdoor dining, all of those outdoor assets that we talked about on the water slide, but also looking into the winter and winter skiing in a less crowded area and things like that. So it will highlight the safe environment that the Finger Lakes offers. There's emphasis on the 100th anniversary of women's rights. We're targeting media and influencers to reach drive market audiences, and the outreach is going to be local, regional, New York State, and New York City media outlets. So again, a great program to be part of in terms of Cayuga County's involvement through the Finger Lakes. And I think that might be, there's one more slide, Karen. So just my last place to leave you with is that visitors are looking for inspiration on future travel. They're doing their research now. DMO websites are seeing increased traffic like they haven't seen in a while. Their visitors are starting to think about their local and drive destinations, but they're also planning and dreaming for those future bucket list trips. So we want to make sure we stay front and center and in their consideration set. We need to focus on recovery plans, both short-term and long-term, with the ability to pivot, because you never know when we need to. And we need to focus on all aspects of the plan so it's ready to launch once insights show the market is ready, and rely on our regional partners to help us through the recovery. And I'll just sum up with this quote. This is from Jennifer Barbie. She was a presenter at the Destination on the Left virtual summit that we held in April. But I just love this quote and had to pull it out because she said, every DMO is now a startup, big to small. It's time to get planning quietly and aggressively, and really, you know, thinking about, we are all startups, rethinking exactly, you know, how we are going to move forward. It's not just about getting through the pandemic. It's what is it going to look like when we get to the other side? And I think I did it, Karen.
Part of the reason why I thought it was important to make sure we had this bigger image. I don't know if I can, well, anyway, I guess we're looking at a black screen. There we go. We'll just look at something different. It's important to look at tourism from a regional perspective, and that's why it was important for me to have Nicole and Break the Ice Media on to broaden that for us. There is a light at the end of this tunnel. We will be able to reach out to the national visitation that we were working on before. But right now, this community, not only our partners are offering the services to the visitors, but within the tourism organizations in the region is very important. We need to continue sending out some messaging, but that messaging has to be genuine, has to be trusted, and it has to be humble, for lack of a better word, because it has to direct to the actual people that are here to receive the visitation. And it's something that we have in common with all the rest of the region. And both of these programs that Nicole pointed out that we'll be working through the Finger Lakes Regional Tourism Council point towards open air destinations, open air activities, things that you can do safely. So continuing with that safe and trust messaging. And I'm very proud that I am working in a region who knows how to collaborate, because this collaboration, which is a word that Nicole is very familiar with through her podcast, is critical. It really is important to continue a messaging out there that our destination needs to be in the eyes of the visitors, so that when everything is past, they will reconsider coming back here again. But we are very well positioned, not Nicole, for the situation right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, we are very well positioned right now, and this is what people are looking for. I've been talking with folks throughout the region, winery owners in particular, who are telling me, I spoke with one yesterday who said his July of 2020 was stronger than his July of 2019. And so I know they're coming. And I think what we really want to do is encourage them to come and to trust us, to stay in our hotels, and to really have that getaway that they're so longing for.
Yeah, which makes it even more important to have the safety message going along with the tourism message, so that visitors know they're coming to a destination whose residents and businesses are taking seriously the safety protocols, and we expect our visitors to do the same. And that's part of my messaging, that it is a two-way street. Thank you for that, Tracy. Passing it back off to you. Do you have any questions for us?
Hi. Well, first of all, thank you so much to all three of you for, again, being with us today and giving us all of that information. It was a ton of stuff and a lot to mull over. We did not get any questions by email yet. Again, if you're watching and you do have questions, please do email me. If you're watching on YouTube, my email is on the bottom of the screen. But I did want to talk a little bit more. You started to touch on it just there about what can local residents and what can local organizations do to support this effort. And, you know, Karen, I'm thinking specifically in terms of sentiment, that sentiment stuff. How important is that for perhaps our local folks to participate in that and improve that effort?
I have two very important points to touch on that, Tracy. Thanks for bringing that up. Number one, we need to follow our own safety protocols, of course. We need to support our businesses. If they say, you know, masks are required, they say you can't get up from your table without your mask. These are things that we need to ensure that we support our businesses so they can continue being open. And also support them through the sentiment. Like you said, it is important to put your messages out there. Right now is the time the businesses really need to raise awareness into the region. So if you have a favorite, you know, Thai place that you go to, or a favorite chicken wing place that you go to, or a favorite park, there's a time to put it out there, to write your comments, to help them beef up their marketing material for the future. Post your pictures with a mask, while you're social distancing in these destinations, to demonstrate the actual things that are going on. And the other very important point that I want to touch on there is that every resident needs to think of themselves as a tourism ambassador. When you see an individual who is visiting, communicate with them. Tell them how awesome the destination is. Tell them about your aunt's cookie company down the street and how awesome her cookies are, because you never know. As I mentioned in the place sentiment versus the tourism sentiment, that individual that you're talking to, that visitor, could be your neighbor down the line. There's been lots of studies that demonstrate that individuals that visit a destination like, man, I had such a great time. Wouldn't it be awesome to live here? So we're hoping that this, especially during this time when visitors are not able to go to their exotic destinations, to Africa and Europe, for them to discover us, not only as a permanent tourism destination, that this is their favorite summer destination from now on, but how awesome we are as a region, how well positioned we are to offer such great experiences. So that visitor may become your neighbor at some day. So that tourism ambassadorship is true at so many different levels. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. I'll leave you with that because it's a message that I try to get out there as much as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a key point here that we've talked about in the past is that when you are posting, don't just post information, make it happy, make it upbeat. Don't just say, oh, this business is open. Say, I love this business and it's open again. You know, just add that extra special sentiment to your posts, and that will improve the whole system for us. I also will say that when I first moved here, this was actually before you, Karen, but when I first moved to the area, I used Tour Cayuga to schedule my weekends for the good 6 months. When I first moved here, there's a really comprehensive list of events when events are happening, and a comprehensive list of entertainment, and it's a great resource even for locals to utilize in that way. So we appreciate you continuing to do that and getting back to a place where we have a full event calendar to participate in.
That's what I was going to say. It's been a challenge this last couple of months, keeping up the events calendar, because events as we know them have not been happening. So one of the things that we did to pivot at the very beginning back in mid-late March was highlighting all the virtual events. And there have been a plethora of them. Our vineyards have been doing virtual wine tastings. Our museums have been doing virtual tours at the museum. And this outreach has been so pivotal, once again, in attracting new audiences. Like I know the APT and the Seward House Museum have reached an audience much wider nationally and internationally that they wouldn't have had before. So this virtual programming has become very important, and hopefully it's something that at least at some level will remain. So yeah, our events calendar took a pretty drastic pivot, and behind the scenes technology of it was a bit of a nightmare, but I think a lot of us encountered some of that. So just transitioning our meetings over to Zoom and the states of that had to go digitally. It wasn't, an easy pivot, but it's one of the many challenges that we've overcome.
I did just get 2 questions in my email. One's for Karen and one's for Nicole, but we'll give Nicole a turn first. So Nicole, has the Regional Tourism Council thought about an integrated marketing and action campaign around sustainable practices to preserve the Finger Lakes environment, such as proper recycling, supporting reusable containers and compostable serviceware, etc.?
Well, I will say that sustainable tourism is definitely a topic of conversation. And even on the national level, sustainable tourism and the international level is something that folks will hope that as we come out of this, we will have more focus on that. At this point, we don't have anything at the regional level that we're doing region-wide. I know individual tourism offices are talking about it, and Karen does serve on that board, so perhaps that's a conversation that she can bring back to the board as we kind of broaden those conversations. Right now, we've been very focused on just trying to get some of the marketing restarted to really support the 14 counties in the region with the recovery and getting the message out about the outdoor assets. But I think that's a really great point.
Yeah, and Karen, I think
one of the beautiful things.
Go ahead.
Sorry, one of the beautiful things about being a part of the council is the fact that we communicate with the TPAs of the other counties. And although some of this programming does not make it up to the full regional level, because not every county is participating in programs, it does spin off a lot of collaborative marketing within counties. And we were working on one before everything crashed. about the waterways, keeping the waters clean and participating, having a campaign between the residents and the visitors about cleaning the water on and below the water. So we were going to incorporate, scuba diving classes and scuba diving tours maybe, and trying to get more people to, through their boats, to try to think about the water. And a messaging that we push very hard, and I know most of the counties do as well, is through the fishing industry, to make sure and wash your boats and clean up anything so you don't transfer anything from one waterways to another. So although we don't have a specific marketing plan all inclusive of all the counties, I know that there's a lot of work that goes on to send out that messaging. And a lot of that goes through the niche marketing, because it targets specifically certain target markets that are involved in that, in those efforts.
Yeah. But I think we'll find over time, I think what we're seeing is that people are getting more and more interested in this, and it'll become less and less of a niche, right, over time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Absolutely.
So Karen, the other question is, has Cayuga County Tourism thought about harnessing the potential for edutourism by integrating the expertise of faculty in the 2 county higher ed institutions?
No, but I love the sound of that. Something that I'm particularly passionate about is internships, and we have posted several interns from Cayuga Community College on our office. I think we had 3 of them over the last 18 months. So yeah, and it is once again kind of like a niche target that can be broadened out and incorporate a lot of different things. So yeah, whoever sent the question, hit me up. Let's talk. Let's see what you have in mind.
I'll do a little connect after we're done here. I'll do a little e-connect. Yeah, and then, I mean, to think about where students fall in this whole realm is another thing to think about. How do we leverage the student population in the region to perhaps bolster utilization of our assets? I don't know.
And education is definitely taking a whole new phase right now. I have my son is heading off to college, and all the communication going on around that, online and activities and engaging with the community. And I know my son has almost, maybe I'm spreading rumors, decided to, because all his classes are online, he's decided to stay here. And the university has sent out messaging. It's like, even if you decide to stay from home and take the online classes, try to do something to get engaged with the community, so that you don't stay, I think they're trying to prevent students from getting locked up in their room and not engaging with anything, because the university protocol is to be a lot of social movements to get started and get engaged with the community. So maybe there is something to that. Maybe a lot of students will be staying at home in the area, and we can get them involved in something with the region.
And we just received another question. Could you, both of everybody, please touch base on the role of wellness in tourism and, wellness tourism as a sector?
Want to kick it off, Nicole? You want me to take it?
I can start. Wellness tourism has definitely been a growing area for sure. It's something that the region has focused in on. There's been a lot of focus on all of the unique places that you can find health and wellness. Everything from, yoga on stand-up paddle boards to yoga with goats to yoga at a winery, but also the hiking and all of the benefits of being outside. And I think because of the pandemic, there's actually an even greater focus on the health and wellness right now. And I'm seeing it in tourism campaigns, not just here in New York, but through all those conversations that I have nationally and even internationally, that's going to be a much higher focus, I think, moving forward.
I completely agree with that. Like you said, right now during this pandemic, people are looking for that. And wellness has such a broad term. Wellness sometimes just means separation. And that's something that our region can definitely offer beautifully, because we have so many scenic routes. We have so many beautiful stops along the way. We have so many historical markers that you can slow down and appreciate. And wellness sometimes is as simple as that. Or you can go to the extreme of where you have a spa, that your destination is basically spending 7 days within a spa, that you will get the healthy food, the beautiful teas, and the spa treatments. And for that, I'll throw a bone over to the Inns of Aurora, because they got a rockin' product on. So we're going to have prime product within our county here soon. But it is a broad term, but it is something that is, people are remembering how important that is. Instead of the rush vacation to go to 10 countries in Europe within 2 weeks, people will be looking at an opportunity to slow down and appreciate time with family and a one destination. And we're perfect for that.
Okay. And Andrea, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. You want to chat about what's happening up at the Erie Canal Heritage Park and how things are moving along up there? Oh, I'm going to have to unmute you, Andrea. Oh, there you go.
I wanted to make clear that people knew about our hiking and biking trails with the wellness part. You know, we have many, many hiking and biking trails that, you know, you can be alone or with your family, and great opportunity. I'm back to the park. I'm a part of the Port Byron Old Erie Canal Heritage Park, and we hope to be opening very, very soon. We've done some amazing renovations during the off season with some new displays, and you know, we just completed our pause directional signal system that our mascot is Maud, who was the dog of the owner of the Erie House. And we put some dog paws on our floors to show people the direction that they need to go in when they're visiting. So we're very excited to be open this year very soon. Some reduced hours, but we hope to increase those as our audience gets bigger. Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah, no, we were excited. Our new directory, the Chamber's new directory, is coming out, and we have a very nice feature on the park. So once those come out, we'll be sure to get you a stack of them, and we're really excited for everybody to see it.
Excellent, thank you.
So, and then it looks like, I'll just update my inbox one more time. It looks like we're out of questions and we're right on time. So once again, thank you all for being here. We appreciate your time and the energy that you put into preparing for this. And for those of you watching, we do have one more in this series. We have the State of the County coming up next Thursday, August 6th at 9 a.m. You can register on our website, CayugaCountyChamber.com, for that if you are interested in hearing from Aileen McNabb-Coleman, chairwoman of the legislature. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody again soon, whether 2D or 3D with mask. And everybody have a great day and a great weekend coming up.
Close it up.
There you got it.